Hello, everyone, and welcome. We'll call the meeting of the Madison City Commission to order for the meeting of April 29th, 2013. Jen, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Delzer?
Here.
Commissioner Erickson?
Here.
Commissioner Waldner?
Here.
Commissioner Abraham?
Here.
Mayor Hexum?
Here. You have the minutes of the April 22nd meeting as a part of your record. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes of the last meeting?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of April 22nd.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the minutes for the April 22nd meeting as prepared. Any questions or speaking on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried. You have the agenda for this meeting of April 29th. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I'll move the approval of the agenda.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the agenda as prepared. Any questions or speaking? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried. We have a hearing scheduled at 5:35, and we want to be on time for that. So if you'll allow me to, let's go down to number 3. I want to allow enough time for Julie Gross and Randy Weezy without interrupting their requests. So number 3, under appearances, acknowledgements, and correspondence, to acknowledge the petition to vacate the right-of-way and set the date of hearing regarding 14th Street Southeast. Chad, do you want to make any comment on that? I think it's,
Yes, Your Honor, I can. This is, in the agenda packet, there's a petition to vacate from Lake Area Improvement Corporation and Global Polymer. There's an H-plat, which is basically the plat of the street that exists adjacent to what's referred to now as the Global Polymer plat. Well, there is a small start of a street vacated where 14th Street would be. That would be the street that would be running along the south, east-west along the south side of that potential, or of that parcel. And these folks have petitioned to vacate that street to, I think it's safe to say, to maintain flexibility in as they're developing their subdivision, to make adjustments to the layout of the roads and streets and lots and blocks. With this included, with this not vacated, it sort of hampers them in their processes and such. So it's a minor thing. It's just what I would refer to as the stub out of what's going to be 14th Street, or would have been 14th Street. And I don't see any concern about approving that. I guess we're not considering approval at this time now. I should clarify. This is a process, I think, that's governed by state law, and David would speak to this, that the petition is submitted and then there's a hearing where you actually make the decision. So I apologize, I'm probably getting a little ahead of myself, but yeah, this is just to acknowledge the petition.
the date of hearing would be then 2 weeks, Jen?
May 20th. We need to publish it twice.
Oh, it has to be
I've got a
published
date
twice.
of hearing for May 20th.
Okay, so the hearing would be May 20th at 5:35 PM
Please.
as a part of the motion. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to acknowledge the petition to vacate the right-of-way as to 14th Street in the industrial park and set the hearing date as of May 14th at 5:35.
No,
20th.
May
I'm sorry,
20th.
May 20th at 5:35. Excuse me.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded that we acknowledge the petition to vacate the right-of-way on 14th Street Southeast, set the date of hearing as May 20th, 5:35 PM. Any questions or speaking to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion is carried. While we're at it, let's take number 4, acknowledge the March investment report, gross salaries and bills for ratification.
Make a motion to acknowledge March investment report, gross salaries, and bills for ratification. Second.
Motion is made and seconded that we acknowledge the March investment report, gross salaries, and bills for ratification. Any questions or speaking? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion is carried. At this time, we'll declare the time to be 5:35 PM. We'll proceed to old business number 1, that being the hearing on proposed ordinance number 1543, Appendix B, zoning. Chad, would you have, or David, would you have any comment to make on ordinance 1543?
This was considered by the planning commission when they had a hearing. They recommended approval to the city commission. It's a parcel at the northeast corner of Southwest 7th Street and Union Avenue. Excuse me, Southwest 8th Street and Union Avenue. Landowners were notified before the planning commission hearing and also before this hearing of the hearing. I don't think there's any concerns with this, approving this as requested.
I've heard nothing on this. Do any of the commissioners have any comment on this? This, of course, is regarding the zoning changing from duplex residence and manufactured housing residential district to general residential, or R20, concerning Outlet G of Union Square Addition and lots 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of Hickman's Addition, including half of the adjacent right-of-way. That's the description of the zoning change. If there are no concerns or questions, could we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to, Mr. Mayor, move to approve the change and adopt the ordinance number 1543 as to the Appendix B and zoning.
Second.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded that we approve ordinance number 1543, Appendix B, zoning on the property which I just described. At this point, I would invite anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on this proposed change to please do so at this time. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move back then to, under appearances, acknowledgements, and correspondence, item number 1 and 2 as listed. Number 1 is Julie Gross of the Lake Area Improvement Corporation is here to give us a quarterly update. So, Julie, thank you for coming. And
Well, thank you for having me. As you recall, when I took this job about, it's been almost a year, I can't believe it. But anyway, I said that I would come every 3 months or so and give you an update. I came in mid-February, so I'm back again. I don't have a ton of things to report, but I just want to let you know what our office has been doing. In February, we had the DOT required us to have an intersection analysis done on the industrial park on Industry Avenue and Division Avenue going into the park. And so if anybody wants to see that report, it's a nice little report. The bottom line is we do not need turning lanes at this time off Highway 34. At some point, we're going to need turning lanes, but at this point, we don't have enough traffic. And they looked at the future of the industrial park, and even with Global Polymer coming in there, we still do not need turning lanes. So we don't have to worry about that right now. We had an audit of our 2012 books, and that was completed, and that went just fine. Industry Avenue, which is the extension, which will be to the east of Global Polymer, that will start in June. It won't go all the way to the end of our property line because we have a grant, if you recall, the Johnson grant, so we have $190,000, so we're using all of the funds, so it won't go all the way, so we'll go quite a ways there. The Madison Downtown and Beyond Group, as you remember, formed last fall, and I handed this out before the meeting, and if you could just take a look at that. This is a survey, a paper survey that we have. or you can do it online. I would encourage each of you to either fill this out and mail it back to our office, or to go online and fill out a survey. We are trying to get a broad-based spectrum of people, and we've been really fortunate. We just started doing a big push on this survey, and as of Sunday, we had 182 responses already, which, as you know, surveys go, that's quite a bit. They said if we could get 190, we'd be doing pretty good. They said if we could get like 360, we'd be doing really good. So we're on our way. So we're asking business owners in town and managers to cascade it to their employees. We're doing it this way, and then we've got some face-to-face surveys that are gonna be happening. We've got some DSU students that during the week of either May 6th or 13th are gonna do some face-to-face surveys. We could have done those ourselves, but we felt that we'd probably get a better response if they were a stranger. You might not be as honest with us as you might be with them. So we'll see. We're excited to get the results of that. We're working with the Solution Mountain Company, and we got a grant from Northwestern Energy that's paying for part of this, and so we're excited they're gonna tabulate all the results for us. I'm working with a couple of local businesses on expansions. I continue to work with new prospects, but local businesses are probably better or just as good as a new business because they're already here in our town. And if they're gonna hire more employees, they're already here and they already have the infrastructure. So working with a couple of them, obviously we know housing is a big thing, and we're doing what we can. Hopefully we'll have more on that soon. We appreciate Scott on our board. He's a really good member of our board, and Chad, as always, is helping me lots. He's helping all the time. I think I call him weekly, or I'm in this building weekly. He's the one who's gonna hide under his desk pretty soon when he sees me coming. And Mayor Hexum, we're sure gonna miss you. Thank you for all the support you've given me.
Okay,
at
thank you.
LAC And when I was at the chamber, so we really appreciate that. Do you have any questions?
I know.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your update. Keep up the good work, and
You can always call me if you.
we're glad you got the weather straightened out for us. So.
I know. I tried hard. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Julie.
Julie.
See you, Jim.
Okay, number 2, under appearances, acknowledgements, and correspondence, Randy Weezy is here to discuss a request that he has regarding a rural service district. Welcome, Randy.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you for coming. Mm-hmm.
I'm here on, I own some land right in the city limits, 136 acres on the north end of town up there. I bought quite a bit of it in '05, and I bought the rest of it from Craig Williams last year, the Miller Edition up there, because he didn't see there was nothing going anywhere, for development in that area, so I bought it because I own the other property, all there too. And I was up talking to Shirley Epson because I thought taxes were a little bit high. I knew they are in town when I bought it and stuff. And she just told me, she told me to go through the procedure, and that's why I'm here with David and stuff, that he was kind of, there is something that can be done, but if there ain't, it's no big deal to me in a way, but I thought if I could get taxes lower. Like I own some land right about a half mile from it, and the taxes on that are probably $17 or $18 an acre, and what's in town is $22 an acre. So, and I don't receive no city benefits any more than I do from the township, like, road maintenance and stuff like that, otherwise nothing else. So that's why I'm just here to see what if anything can be done, it can be done if it can't be. That's all.
I was initially contacted by Randy after he had spoken with Shirley regarding the concept of a rural service district. A rural service district is recognized by South Dakota law. It's codified in our municipal law chapter. And basically what it does is it takes the city of Madison and it divides it into 2 separate taxing districts. It creates a rural taxing district and an urban taxing district. And of course, the difference is the urban district would continue to be taxed as is. The rural district would be taxed, as Randy says, the example would be roughly 18 versus 22. It's taxed as if it's not in the city. It's taxed as if it's in the county, but not as if it's in the city. it requires the city to identify every parcel of land into one of the two districts. In the event that the rural land is ever platted, or the zoning changes, or it's really developed in any way, in this case, it would most likely be Chad. Chad has to report those changes so that the land immediately moves. It's nothing we have to do by resolution or motion. The land immediately moves into the urban. So if at any time it loses its agricultural characteristic because it's being platted, rezoned, developed in any way, it becomes urban and falls into that new category of higher taxation. That's a rough, simple overview of what this request is. I've been looking into it more, I know Jen has as well. I can try to answer any questions now. If I can't, I'll certainly research it and try to report back to you as soon as possible.
We don't have a distinction now.
We do not, and like most cities don't. A rough overview, I was able to find 3 or 4 today that do this.
That was my question, was if there are any,
I'm hesitant to say only 3 or 4, Dick, and I don't wanna be held to that, but just at a quick view, I was able to find 3 or 4. Salem is one town that does it. There were a couple of others now, I'm gonna forget who they were, but I found 3 or 4 that do it. Where did
Hartford.
Hartford is another,
Hartford
that
is.
was the other. We looked at an ordinance from Hartford, and Hartford had done this as well. So I won't call it exceptionally common, but it's also not exceptionally rare. It is done, and it is done in the vicinity.
David or Randy, you have to take all the agricultural property then as a part of the rural service district? You can't take one parcel versus none of the others? Is that, I mean, we have some other agricultural land in the city limits. I'm thinking of down on the bypass there.
Mayor, when that occurs, what we have to do is we have to look at its characteristic. We have to look, how is it zoned? Is it platted? Is there any requests for development going on? We really have to run through a checklist to determine whether it qualifies
Okay.
as rural for this service district. And it may. I just can't answer that offhand,
Okay,
and that's something
okay.
I'd confer with Chad on, to determine whether it's actually rural in nature.
but we'd have to do this for every parcel in the city, wouldn't we?
We do. I tried
I
to
mean,
think
just,
of,
in using Randy's situation, he's requesting that his parcel be in, but we'd have to look at
oh, yes.
we'd have to look at all of it.
Yeah, if we create this service district, we have to take every parcel in the city of Madison and classify it as one or the other. Yes.
Is there a time limit on the rural service district? We'll say that 5 years from now, a developer comes along and says, okay, I'm buying whatever piece of property, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Then what happens? If it's in a rural service district, does it have to be declassified then out of the rural service district into
It is, Mayor.
on zoning?
It's done administratively. What would happen in that case is the request would probably go to Chad's office. And when that request came in to develop that, he needs to notify the city finance office to reclassify it for future tax assessments. It's
But-
administrative, though. It wouldn't necessarily have to come before this body for any declassification or determination. It's something that would just happen administratively.
But using Randy as an example, if he remains the owner of that property for the next 20 years, and he said it is farmland, it's not for sale to anybody at any price, okay, it's farmland, it stays as a rural service district then until some other, either he decides to develop it or another owner comes along to develop or expand or whatever.
The service district would continue indefinitely. There's no expiration. So as long as the property that was classified as rural stays as such, it would continue indefinitely. Now, I do believe a future commission would have the ability to repeal the district, to basically eliminate the district and come along and say, look, we've been doing it this way with the service district, we don't wanna do it anymore. So your action tonight doesn't necessarily ensure that the service district stays in place into perpetuity. A future commission could repeal that district. But assuming that never happened, Randy's land in this case would stay agricultural and be taxed as such indefinitely,
Is this done by resolution, or is this done by ordinance?
done by ordinance,
Okay. Which would require a hearing then.
yes.
We'd have to have a public hearing,
Yes.
but there's no public vote on it unless it's referred to a vote of the voters, right?
Correct, there's no automatic vote, however, I do believe this is referendum.
That's the only question that I had. Anybody have any questions?
If we were to proceed, the classification of the properties, is that just drawing off a map or the county records, or is it surveyed, or?
Well, the statutes make reference to both survey and map. So in my opinion, it's a little unclear. I think we could do it by map, but I would want a little more time to look into that before I answer that conclusively. The statute references both.
Any other questions, comments? Chad, have you dealt with anything along this line before, or in your experience, or nothing?
No, I have not.
Would this, if this decided to move forward, would this have to go to Planning and Zoning Commission? Or would this stay with the City Commission action directly?
I believe this is city commission.
City Commission action, okay. Well, I guess tonight all we're doing is discussing information, learning about the situation. I had not heard of this before either, so, but I won't have to deal with it too long either. There's Roy back there.
You are
But,
certainly only discussing tonight. You don't need to take any action. I wouldn't even recommend that you do.
Well, I think the minutes should show that Randy was here and
Yes.
presented the request, and do we need a motion to acknowledge that we had this discussion or not? Or-
You don't need to, but you
Okay.
can. I'll leave that up to any commissioner. Just please, at the end of this discussion, if any of you want to direct me to do anything or to look into anything further, please ask, but if I don't hear anything, I'll just assume that it will be scheduled on the agenda at a later date.
We just make reference in the minutes and of the meeting that
Yes.
Randy's request, and,
Will do.
okay, we won't need a motion then.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's
Okay.
interesting.
Thanks, Randy.
Always something new to learn about, huh? Okay, we are then down to old business number 2, second reading of ordinance number 1543, Appendix B, zoning. We're back to 1543. Or did we take care of that with the other motion?
Thank you.
We adopt,
Yep.
we
I think we had-
adopted,
we
yeah,
had
we
the
took care,
hearing.
we took care of second reading then, didn't we? Okay, same with that
Based on the
motion.
hearing, yep.
Is that right, Jen?
Correct.
Okay. New business, several items. Number 1, application for outside alcohol sales permit from Mocavino. And Nancy Caduce is here. Welcome.
Front and center, I don't need to move forward here.
Well, maybe if you want, if there's discussion, the microphone will pick up better, if you would come forward there. I think we have the information here as a part of our record. I guess, David or Chad, would you have any comment? This, as I recall, this would be a similar request to Stadium Sports that we had several years ago. Is that correct, Chad?
Yeah, I don't have any comments on this particular.
Covered under section 4.8 within our ordinance book, which is also outlined on the application that Nancy submitted. Everything appears to be in order, should be fine.
And I believe the only other one we have under this is Stadium Sports.
Yes.
Which was
That I know of,
kind
yes.
of broke ground for this several years ago. when they-
Commission may recall a few years ago, we added this to
Mhm.
our ordinances, and it's fairly strictly regulated.
Well, Nancy, thank you. Do you have?
Yeah, so this is it, and I had submitted 3 to 4 little tables according to my.
Yep, you have the map in front of you.
Measurements and yeah. Right now, there'll be 3, with 33 tables. So, does that, I'm now okay to put those tables out after this?
Assuming it's
Well, if we-
approved, you can issue the
Right, there's
permit.
no time limit to wait.
There's
No.
not.
If we approve it tonight, you can,
Do it tomorrow.
Could there be something in
Or
there
you-
about my employees not being able to business hours?
They can still drink
Is that,
coffee
no,
out
would that be
there.
discriminatory? I'm asking. Okay, all right. Well, I just thought I'd run that by you, Dave. No, I'm pretty happy to have her next door, and she's a good neighbor.
Yeah, I think, if you want some discussion, Mayor, I think this will be nice. I mean, it's all part of the downtown development, and certainly, you know, if you, with just the 3 tables, I think it'll be fine. And this is from the public safety perspective, you know, just make sure it doesn't spill over into the street and everything, and so, and you're well aware of that, you know the rules and regulations of it, and so I think it'll help. I mean, all bigger cities, you see it all the time, and especially on days like today, if you can keep the weather like this, then this will be nice. So, thank you for considering this.
I'll move to approve the application of Mocha Vino for the outside alcohol sales permit.
Second.
motion is made and seconded that we approve the application for the outside alcohol sales permit from Mocavino. Any questions or speaking on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for coming. Thank you for your patience here. New business number 2, bid number 808, to award the bid for the electric distribution improvements 2013. Dennis is here, Chad is here. I guess whoever wishes to open up.
Yeah, I can make a few comments, Mayor. We opened bids, well, let me first say, in the agenda packet, you have a recommendation from DGR Engineering and a tabulation sheet for the bids. There was 7 bids received for the project, which ranged from 127,800 or so to 384,700. The low bidder was May Construction of Madison, South Dakota, who Dennis has experience with, and DGR has indicated they've talked with May Construction, and they are comfortable with their bid. The recommendation from DGR is to award the bid, and I think Dennis and I concur that we would also recommend to award the bid to DGR, or excuse me, to May Construction of Madison, South Dakota. I guess that's what I would submit as far as the bid. I know there may be some other discussions or questions.
Okay, Dennis, do you have any comment?
No, I've talked to Troy and he's
Mhm.
comfortable. He said after looking at it, he would have just raised a few things that,
Left a little money on the table.
you know, but no, he's confident he can do it for that. And he's close, he wanted the job pretty bad. He done Northwest Park when they done all that, he done a good job, so I don't think we'll have any problem with him.
The project is well within budget with this bid, the engineer's estimate was about 255,000, I believe. And so, you know, 127 versus 255. Overall, project-wise, we're sitting good, and there's been, I understand the Electric Advisory Committee has talked about the bids, and if there's any interest from the commission level to try to take advantage of the good pricing on the installation portion, I think it would be appropriate to pursue a change order, again, if that's the commission's wishes for us to start working on that. I don't believe it's appropriate to, and this gets to the legal, if David, anything comes up that he has to answer the question, but we can't change the contract that was included in the bid package before the award. So the award would have to be based upon the contract documents, the bid as presented, and then to take advantage of that, if it was desired, to move the amount of work and thereby the cost up closer to the budgeted amount, to take advantage of the price, we would pursue a change order.
And that would have to come later.
That has to come later.
Would construction begin very soon then, Dennis, or?
It's scheduled, I think, for June 1st,
Mhm.
but when materials all
With,
in.
with completion before the end of the year, or what is the date of completion on that? I know we looked at it, but.
It's by the end of the year. I don't know the
Yeah.
exact date, but it's in 2013.
Okay. So the proposal then for consideration would be the bid award for the electric distribution improvements 2013. The proposal would be to accept the low bid from May Construction of $127,806.13. Is that correct, Chan?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
I would make a motion to award bid number 808 for the electric distribution improvements for 2013 to May Construction of Madison.
Second.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded that we award the bid for the electric distribution improvements for 2013 to May Construction of Madison, South Dakota, in the amount of $127,806.13. Any questions or speaking on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried.
Mayor, may I ask, does the commission have, I know the Electric Advisory Committee did talk about this, and if we are to start looking at a change order to try to take advantage of these advantageous pricing, we would probably want to start that, because there's design to that, you know. This project itself, you know, creating the documents takes several months in preparation, and so there would be some time needed to do that, and if that was the wishes of the commission, we would, but I don't want to move forward with that, because there's costs associated with that for DGR's efforts in doing that. We've talked about it pretty extensively, and we believe it could be done, and still, you know, stay within budget, but we don't want to proceed in that direction. We have identified these phases, as you may recall, when we acknowledged the study that was done last year, about $500,000 each phase, and with this project, we are just under 400,000 with our current budget, and so that gives you an idea of what could be added. To maintain a pretty healthy contingency, we could target, to maintain a 10% contingency, we could target about $66,000 of additional work we could pursue. But I don't believe it's appropriate for me to authorize DGR to proceed on any such thing without some direction.
I was at the committee meeting for the discussion, and I think probably part of the discussion is that DGR, as the consulting engineering, would have to be consulted first to see where things can fit in. And I guess probably the only thing that we might do tonight would be to authorize Chad and Dennis to enter discussions with DGR on what some of the feasibilities might be of some change orders on the work. Do you think, David, is that a reasonable approach?
That's what's appropriate.
Or if you want to think about it for a week,
No,
and,
I would prefer to move forward, recognizing the favorable pricing that we're getting. We know the project's gonna continue. We know we're gonna go to completion on all of this. And the more we can get done at these prices, the better off we're gonna be. That'd be my position.
Well, with that, perhaps we can, we have talked with DGR to get some preliminary information. We do think it is doable to come up with, you know, that $60,000 to $70,000 range, still maintaining a 10% or so contingency. But we can talk in more detail and maybe present something, not a change order, but just a more, flesh it out a little bit more, I guess, so to speak, and have that for your consideration perhaps next week, or else we could just work with Commissioner Erickson as the Utilities Commissioner, however you see fit to do that.
Well, David, would we need a motion to authorize staff to investigate? We don't need a motion?
Simply direct them to do so.
Okay. Are there any other comments from any of the commissioners regarding the
One thing we do need to keep in mind is we either have authorized or our policies are authorizing it quite an expenditure this year just because of the economic development boom we're having. So the annexation of the hospital will be a significant amount of money that really isn't budgeted in to the electrical fund, as well as the global addition. There'll be a sizable amount of electrical infrastructure that we'll need to pay for there. So now, had we used this whole budget up, we would have had to find a source for those funds either way, but this would be an area for our budget to heal a little bit, you might say, rather than look at reserves or other funding mechanisms. So it's something to keep in mind, so we don't get to the end of the year and go, oh, wow, I guess we should have thought of that.
It's a
So, and
good
I think
point.
we figured it was, help me out, Chad, here, just on the annexation, we're talking 100 and,
Excluding labor, hard costs of $90,000.
yeah.
But there was.
Just for
including labor
materials, it was
100
88,000, so. The hospital's gonna eat up more than this savings right there, so, and then I don't think we have firm estimates on the global edition either, but it's gonna be a sizable amount.
Well, David, whatever happens, a recommendation would have to come back to the commission for any changes in the contract.
That's right.
Okay. All right, well, I guess if there's nothing else then, let's move on to new business number 4, authorize mayor to sign temporary easement agreement, South Dakota DOT.
Should we do number 3?
Oh,
We have the water main.
back up, back up. New business number 3. Bid number 810, award bid Water Main Improvement Project 2013-2. Excuse me, you've got quite an extensive amount of information there too. Okay. Well, let's see. Who wants to start? Fred? Chad?
Actually, it'd be Chad, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I can talk about this. We had a bid opening on April 23rd for the project you mentioned, a water main project. We had 6 bidders on that project. The bids ranged from $114,000 to $221,000. With this project, with considering the low bid here from Johnson Brothers Excavation of Madison, South Dakota, the project is well within budget. We've worked with Johnson Brothers Excavation many times before and are comfortable with working with them. And with that, I would recommend we pursue awarding the project to Johnson Brothers Excavation for $113,652.64.
Okay, that is the recommendation. Comments from anybody else, commissioners?
Good bids and local. Not that we're trying to discriminate. It's just nice to see you guys get work local.
And that includes all the material, Chad, then, that is listed also with the project.
Correct.
Okay.
I concur.
Fred, anything
Yes, sir,
else?
I agree.
Okay. Well, you've heard the recommendation. What are your wishes?
I'll move to authorize mayor to sign, or I move to award the bid for the water main improvement project to Johnson Brothers Excavating in the amount of $113,652.64.
Second.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded that we approve and authorize bid number 810, the Water Main Improvement Project 2013-2, to the low bidder of Johnson Brothers Excavating of Madison, South Dakota, in the amount of $113,652.64. Excuse me. Any further questions or speaking on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Now, new business number 4, authorize mayor to sign temporary easement agreement, South Dakota Department of Transportation. Chad, I guess that would be yours.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. A party, James Schultz from Department of Transportation, approached me to present this temporary easement agreement for the Highway 19 reconstruction project that they are commencing on. This is some property that the city owns on the west side of Highway 19, right at the intersection of 34 and 19. Just a temporary easement. The DOT's policy is just $1, essentially a donation, where they'll accomplish some grading or some sloping in that area. You see the agreement here. I don't see any concerns with this. The only thing I did want to bring up is, I wish I'd had the answer before we were talking about it here, is we have a rec trail on the other side of the road, on the east side of the road. I don't know for sure if this construction is going to impact that. I don't believe that it was, and I had anticipated affecting that, but I did not confirm that. I don't know that if we would have any leverage to say, well, let's not approve this, or make it contingent on it not affecting our rec trail or not. That may or may not be an option, because if it is affected, we may have the responsibility to pay for replacing any portions of it. I very much doubt that it will be affected, because it's very near to the right-of-way line on the back slope, what's referred to as the back slope, and it's a wide right-of-way in that area, so I don't anticipate it being an issue. But I just wanted to bring that up too. It probably wouldn't hurt if this is delayed a week, if you want me to check into it. However, I don't know that it really will change any design parameters, holding off on approving this week either, so. Fred, I've talked to Fred about it, and I don't know if they do some mowing on that side or not, but I don't think he has any concerns
I
about
don't have any concerns at all.
Fred, you don't have any concerns?
No concern.
Okay. David, do you have any reservations?
I've reviewed
There's
the
an-
agreement, that's exactly.
Okay.
I'll come back, or they can go. We do have electric line along the fence line.
This is along the east fence line? On the east
The
side?
west.
West side, I'm sorry, the west side.
Most
This
likely
is,
ours
this
a
is,
buck anyway.
the west fence line is quite far back. I don't have a measurement here, but it looks like it's in excess of
Yeah, it's back a long ways.
70 feet, 70 to 100 feet, it looks like it's, they're just in an area of about 35 feet wide, right next to the existing cut slope.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a temporary easement with the agreement with the South Dakota DOT.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded that we authorize the mayor to sign the temporary easement agreement with the South Dakota DOT regarding the property near the intersection of 34 and 19 for highway construction, with the property description as described in the agreement. Any questions or speaking? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried. New business number 5, bills for approval, bills for ratification.
Make a motion to approve and ratify the bills.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded that we approve and ratify the bills as presented. Any questions or speaking to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried. New business number 6, personnel. Several personnel recommendations. What are your wishes?
I'd make a motion to approve the personnel as presented.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded that we approve the personnel recommendations as presented. Any questions or speaking to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion is carried. That completes the regular order of business for this agenda. We do have an executive session scheduled under SDCL 1-25-2, paren 3. Could we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
Motion is made and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion is carried.